After finding out that my childhood friend had started dating someone, I hid alone on the terrace and cried my eyes out. My miserable state was discovered by his sworn enemy, Elias. Elias stood in front of me and lazily offered a terrible idea. "Why don't you date me? We can make him jealous. What do you think?" I looked at the tall man in front of me and swallowed. "So, when you date someone, do you usually keep it platonic or not?" The man curled his lips into a smile. "I recommend the non-platonic kind." He bent down, bringing his face close to my ear, his voice hoarse and lazy. "After all, I've got 2 more abs than him. I'm more handsome and better than him in every way." Chapter 1. On the day of Lucas's birthday party, I happily put on a beautiful dress and carefully dressed up before heading to his house for the celebration. The hall was incredibly lively. My eyes instinctively searched for Lucas, but what I saw was him holding hands with a strikingly beautiful girl. The smile on my face froze instantly. All the excitement revolved around them. Lucas held a wine glass in one hand while the other hand never let go of the girl. From time to time he blocked drinks for her or lowered his head to check on her. Watching their intimate behavior, I couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Just 2 days ago he had told me I was still young, that I should focus on studying and not rush into dating. Yet today he was the one holding another girl's hand. I hid in a corner, drinking one colorful cocktail after another, a lump of frustration building in my chest. The cabbage I had guarded for so many years suddenly belonged to someone else, and the girl who dug up my cabbage was so beautiful. That made it even more infuriating. Perhaps it was the alcohol. Everything I felt seemed magnified. Gradually, my eyes became wet, afraid someone would see how miserable I looked. I quietly sneaked up to the terrace on the 2nd floor, pathetically hugging my arms. I crouched by the glass railing, sobbing uncontrollably, just letting out the emotions of being heartbroken before I had even begun dating. Without noticing, a faint scent of tobacco drifted to my nose. Suddenly, a lazy voice sounded beside my ear. "Selena, how can you cry this much?" I had been crying so hard that I didn't even notice when someone had come beside me. I sniffed and turned my head to look at the man in front of me. Elias was casually leaning against the glass railing of the terrace. The glowing red tip between his fingers burned slowly as he looked down at me with amusement. Feeling uncomfortable, I scooted slightly to the side. I glared at him fiercely. "Mind your own business." Elias burst out laughing, still such a bad temper. I didn't respond. He wasn't annoyed either. With one hand he pinched out the cigarette. Then he slowly walked over and crouched beside me, tilting his head. He looked at me. "Are you sad because Lucas is dating someone?" Having my sore spot poked, I lowered my head and turned away. Elias let out a lazy sigh and stood up again, looking down at the lively crowd in the yard below. He said, "Your Lucas is kissing his girlfriend right now. Aren't you going to take a look?" Hearing that, I didn't dare turn around. Instead, I burst into louder sobs. "You're so annoying." He clicked his tongue softly and smiled helplessly. "So now you hate me again?" After a while, once I finished crying, Elias spoke unhurriedly. "If you feel that upset, how about I give you an idea?" I sniffed and pressed my lips together. "What idea?" He smiled. "You date me. We'll make him jealous. I'm tall and handsome. Dating me isn't exactly a loss for you. Besides, Lucas and I have never gotten along. Imagine how angry he'd be if the girl who grew up beside him ended up with his sworn enemy." I thought about it for a moment. It actually sounded somewhat reasonable. I had heard people say the best way to get over one relationship was to start another. After hesitating for a while, I looked up at the tall man in front of me and swallowed. "So, when you date someone, do you usually keep it platonic or not?" Elias clearly didn't expect that question and froze for a moment. Then he curved his lips into a smile and reached out to pull me up. He bent down, bringing his face close to my ear, his voice hoarse and lazy. "I recommend the non-platonic kind. After all, I've got 2 more abs than him. I'm more handsome, and I'm better than him. Next time you try to find someone as good as me, it won't be that easy." Chapter 2. My face turned red, and I hurriedly pushed him a little farther away. "Why are you acting like a pervert?" He reached out and pulled me back again. "You're really good at turning the tables." "Huh? But this isn't being a pervert, this is my proof of sincerity. If you don't believe me, You can touch and see. I pressed my lips together, my eyes darting away. When I turned my head, I saw Lucas downstairs wiping cream off the girl's face. My heart trembled at the sight. Seeing his gaze slowly drifting toward the balcony, I quickly turned back to Elias. Okay. A sly, victorious smile hung on Elias's lips. He straightened up and slowly cupped my face with both hands. Our lips were less than half an inch apart. Just as the kiss was about to happen, he suddenly stopped. Baby, want to kiss me so he can see? I glanced downstairs, gathering my courage. I stood on my tiptoes and gave him a quick peck on the lips. He froze for a moment, then a helpless smile appeared on his face again. His thumb lazily brushed the soft flesh of my cheek. Let me teach you something more exciting. As he spoke, he lowered his head and sealed my lips with his. For a moment, I widened my eyes in shock and nervously clenched my teeth. My heart felt like it was about to jump out of my chest. Open your mouth, he said, his brows slightly lowered. The corner of his lips curved into a faint yet indulgent smile. Hearing him, I subconsciously relaxed my teeth. Immediately, he held the back of my head, pressing gently from time to time, forcing me to tilt my head back as he deepened the kiss. His cool, refreshing scent quickly filled my nose and mouth. In an instant, it felt like my whole body was stained with his scent. Gradually, his kiss was no longer gentle, it became domineering. As if he wanted to swallow me whole. I didn't know how long it lasted. I was almost out of breath, unable to endure it anymore. I bit his lip. Only then did he slowly release me. My face was flushed red from the kiss as I stood there in a daze. Seeing the small cut on his lip, I said a little guiltily, I didn't mean to bite you. He lightly licked the small mark I had bitten. So fierce. Well, who told you to kiss so hard? He looked at me and smiled. Fine. I won't argue with you. I glared at him. You seem pretty experienced. His tone was lazy as he lowered his head and pinched my cheek with his thumb and forefinger. Yeah, I'm even more experienced at other things. Want to try next time? I turned around angrily. Who knew how many girls he had kissed before? Chapter 3. My face still red. I ignored him. Turning around, I saw Lucas in the yard downstairs staring at me. I pressed my lips together awkwardly, but Elias suddenly wrapped his arm around me. He lowered his eyes proudly toward Lucas, a provocative smile hanging on his lips. At that moment, he looked unbearably smug. I poked his firm muscles. Why are you so sly and mean? He clicked his tongue lightly and pinched my cheek. Is that how you talk about your boyfriend? I puffed my cheeks. Who said you're my boyfriend? He laughed in exasperation and pinched the back of my neck. Selena, you're deceiving an innocent young man here. I looked up at him. Ha, an innocent young man? You kiss people so skillfully, who knows if that's true? Elias glanced at me and then smiled. Don't you know men are naturally talented at this kind of thing? I snorted lightly, clearly not believing him at all. He slowly leaned close to my ear, his warm breath brushing against it. Well, not entirely natural talent. After all, there are plenty of tutorials in those videos. My face instantly turned bright red. I widened my eyes, completely speechless. You, Elias rubbed my head. What? You want to learn too? I can share them with you when we get back. I was so embarrassed I punched his chest. Who wants to learn that? He laughed softly. Then he pinched my cheek again and coaxed me gently. All right, don't be mad. I was just teasing you. Chapter 4. By the time the party ended, it was already midnight. Elias insisted that I walk him to the entrance of the neighborhood. After he got into the car, I was just about to head back, but he called out to me. I saw him waving at me, so I walked a few steps closer. Suddenly he grabbed the back of my neck and gave me a hard kiss on the lips. My face flushed red and I glared at him. Why do you love kissing people so much? He curved his lips into a teasing smile. I'm addicted. Go back home quickly. It's already very late. He rested his hand on the steering wheel and paused for a moment. Do you think I might get caught for drunk driving? Did you drink? He shook his head. I didn't, but you did, right? We just kissed for so long. What if it spread to me? If I get caught, it might affect our son. I slapped him on the head. Shut up. Too lazy to deal with him. I turned around and walked away. My house was in one of the villas just a few buildings ahead of Lucas's. When I passed by his house, he suddenly called out to me, "Selena." I turned my head to look at him. "What is it? When did you start dating Elias?" The interrogating tone in his voice made me very uncomfortable. I looked straight at him without saying anything. He sighed and continued, "He's not a good match for you. Dating casually is fine, but don't get too invested." I stubbornly replied, "You're not my real brother. You don't need to interfere. And don't speak badly about my boyfriend in front of me. I'll get angry. I've always been protective of the people on my side, no matter what. Elias is my boyfriend now, and Lucas already has a girlfriend. For him to manage me like this still made me uncomfortable. It instantly killed my mood. Actually, Elias and I had always known each other. When I was little, my parents were very busy. I was still young, and they didn't trust leaving me with a nanny. So they sent me to live with my grandparents, under red brick walls and tiled roofs. The neighbors were separated by only a single wall. Families who were close even opened small side doors to make it easier to visit each other. Elias's house was right next door to my grandparents. At that time, I was just a tiny kid. My grandfather was afraid I'd get bored, so he would drag Elias over from next door to play with me. But that guy had been sneaky and mischievous since he was little. His mouth was sharp, and he loved bullying people. When I was young, I suffered quite a bit under his oppression. So after growing up, I especially liked Lucas, who was gentle and refined, because he always acted like an adult, kind and reliable, able to solve all my problems. Unlike Elias, who always seemed to dislike me. Selena, God gave you a head to use, not just to decorate your shoulders. Selena, crying will make you ugly. Selena, girls should be gentle. If you're too fierce, no one will marry you. But sometimes Elias was actually quite nice. If someone bullied me, he would stand in front of me to protect me. Even though he complained with his mouth, he would still lower his head and wipe away my tears. When I didn't get a perfect score on a test, he would take out his own failing paper to comfort me. "Look at mine. I didn't even pass. You got 99 points. You're way better than me." Chapter 5. When I woke up groggily in the morning, I opened my messages. There were more than 10 messages from Elias. I was so shocked that I thought he had really been caught for drunk driving. I quickly opened the chat. "Elias, I'm home. Good night." Half an hour later, "Asleep already? At 3 in the morning, you'd better not let me find out you're ignoring my messages on purpose." At 8 in the morning, "Good morning, baby." At 10 in the morning, "Still not awake?" At 11 in the morning, "Smile, Selena. Don't tell me you regret it. If you wake up and refuse to admit it, I'll immediately bring gifts to your grandfather and propose." That scared me so much that I quickly replied, "Me? I'm awake. I'm awake." "You're so clingy. Distance creates beauty. Don't you know?" The next second, Elias replied, "I know, but negative distance is even more beautiful." Looking at the message, I silently cursed him in my heart for being such a shameless pervert. Chapter 6. When September arrived and the semester started, I was already a sophomore. Elias, Lucas, and I all attended the same university. Back when I first heard Elias had been admitted to Capital University, I was surprised. After all, he had never liked studying when he was young. For a while, I even thought his father had donated a few buildings to the university just so he could get in. But it turned out that the guy had actually passed the entrance exam himself. I had just finished class. When I opened my phone, I saw a message from Elias. There was an on-campus basketball game today. He had told me about it last night and insisted that I had to come watch him play. If he didn't see me there, he said I would regret it. Sure enough, before the game even started, he was already urging me to hurry up. By the time I ran to the basketball court, gasping for breath, it was already packed with people. I stood on tiptoe for a long time but still couldn't spot him. Just as I was about to find a seat, someone suddenly grabbed my hand as I turned around, and very boldly intertwined his fingers with mine. I struggled slightly, feeling a little uncomfortable. Elias squeezed my hand lightly. "Hold on to it. You might get lost later." He pulled me to the front row and made me sit down. Right in front of me, He casually took off his t-shirt and changed into a black basketball jersey. In an instant, a wave of screams erupted behind us. Elias tossed the t-shirt straight into my arms. Then he bent down to look at me, smug beyond belief. See that? Your boyfriend is very popular. You'd better cherish him. I pushed him away in disgust, but he laughed recklessly, pinching my cheek. He turned my face toward the court. What I saw immediately was Lucas's girlfriend planting a kiss on his cheek. Lucas smiled and gently rubbed the girl's head. Elias looked at me with a grin. Baby, if others have it, I want it too. I tilted my head, pretending not to understand. The hand pinching my cheek tightened slightly. He leaned down and kissed my lips fiercely. Then he said domineeringly, "Don't look at him later. Only look at me, got it?" I smiled and nodded. "If I catch you staring at him, I'll kiss your lips raw later." All right, you're so talkative. Now lift your head and let me kiss you again. Chapter 7. For some reason, Elias played like he was on adrenaline the entire game. He kept deliberately targeting Lucas. Although Elias had always disliked Lucas, today he didn't give Lucas any face at all. Throughout the whole match, he completely suppressed him. It was rare for me to see such an uncomfortable expression on Lucas's face. Meanwhile, Elias looked like a proud peacock. He was smiling especially happily. Once again, a beautiful three-point shot flew from Elias's hand into the hoop. The cheers behind me were so loud that my ears nearly exploded. The outcome of the game was already obvious. The loose strands of hair on Elias's forehead were soaked with sweat. He brushed them back with one hand, without the hair covering them. His sharp and handsome features suddenly carried an intense, almost magnetic charm. When the first half ended, Elias came off the court and dropped into the seat beside me. He grabbed a bottle of water and poured it straight into his mouth. He drank too quickly. A drop of water slid from the corner of his lips, ran down his moving Adam's apple, and disappeared into his collar. A little disgusted, I took a tissue and wiped it for him. He paused mid-drink. Then he reached up and grabbed my hand, tilting his head. He looked at me with amusement. A man's Adam's apple isn't something you should touch casually. I sneered and pinched his waist in annoyance. Stop acting weird. He leaned lazily back in his chair and smiled. Still holding my hand, he smoothly slid his fingers between mine. Our fingers interlocked. His palm was hot, and soon it became slightly sweaty. Feeling uncomfortable, I tried to pull my hand away, but I couldn't. He even glared at me. When halftime ended, the players from both teams began preparing to return to the court, but Elias remained seated beside me without moving, confused. I poked him. "Aren't you going back?" He turned his head, raised an eyebrow at me, and pointed toward the scoreboard. "If I go back, they'll lose too badly. Your brother Lucas would lose too much face." He looked ridiculously smug. I sighed helplessly. "Why do you hate him so much?" Elias paused, his brows slightly furrowing. "You don't know?" I shook my head. "How would I know about the complicated things between you men?" He clicked his tongue lightly and rested his arm along the back of my chair. "Selena, all those years you spent reading those CEO Falls in Love with Me novels were wasted." I was left speechless by his remark. I really couldn't understand what went on in men's heads. After Elias stopped playing, the basketball court suddenly felt much less lively. For some reason, even the game in front of me didn't seem as interesting anymore. After sitting there for a while, he stood up and started packing his things. "Not watching anymore?" Elias lowered his gaze at me. "Watching who?" I tilted my head and smiled, deliberately teasing him. "Of course I'm watching my brother Lucas." Elias laughed angrily. He reached out and pinched the back of my neck. Then he bent down and leaned close to my ear. His voice was low and ominous. "Selena, I'll remember this. I'll deal with you later." The corners of his lips curved upward, even though he was smiling. It gave me goosebumps. Fine, I won't watch anymore. So petty. Chapter 8. Grandpa had called beforehand and told me to come back to the courtyard house for dinner that night. So after the game ended, I caught a ride with Elias back home. When it was time to eat, Elias, who was supposed to be next door, somehow appeared at my family's dining table. He was even enthusiastically helping Grandpa set out the bowls and chopsticks. I looked at him in surprise. "When did you become so hardworking?" Elias simply glanced at me calmly. Then Grandpa's faintly resentful voice sounded beside me. As the saying goes, other people's children are just different. I looked at my grandfather with a sweet smile. Yes, other people's children are treasures, while your own child is just grass. Grandpa glared at me. Elias, very perceptive, poured a small cup of liquor for Grandpa. Grandpa, I took some good stuff from my dad's liquor cabinet. Try it. Grandpa looked extremely pleased. He quickly took a sip, and his eyes immediately lit up. This is good stuff. Elias is really a good boy. Elias shot me a smug glance, grinding my teeth. I looked at him and muttered inwardly, "You male fox spirit." He curled his lips into a smile. Thank you for the compliment. I really couldn't stand the two of them teaming up to bully me. Grandma, Elias is giving Grandpa alcohol, and a huge. Immediately, Grandpa was so frightened that his hands trembled. He hurriedly covered my mouth. Don't shout. Grandma's voice came from the kitchen. Old man, what is the girl saying? Grandpa quickly replied. Huh? Nothing at all. My eyes curved into crescents as I smiled, tilting my head. I looked at Grandpa. Elias is your good grandson. Or I am. Grandpa blew his beard and glared. You're the best. All right. Only then did I finally shut my mouth in satisfaction. Then I quickly finished the 2 remaining sips of liquor in the cup. After that, I sneakily poured myself some juice. After dinner, Elias insisted on dragging me out for a walk. The moment we stepped outside, he insisted on holding my hand. I looked around nervously. What if someone sees us? But he tightened his grip on my hand. So what if they do? What if they tell my grandpa? Elias seemed to realize something and stopped walking. One hand rested on his hip while the other still held mine. He snorted irritably. Selena, how did I never realize you were this kind of person? I looked at him in confusion. What kind of person? He bent slightly, his dark eyes staring straight into mine. The kind who only wants to date but doesn't want to take responsibility. You won't even give me a proper title. What's the difference between me and a gigolo? No, actually, I'm worse than one. At least they get paid, while you're using me for free. I was speechless. Who tells their parents when they start dating? Isn't it usually just secretly dating and secretly breaking up? You're already thinking about breaking up with me? Who knows what will happen in the future? Chapter 9. The moment those words left my mouth, I regretted them, because Elias's face immediately darkened. He even let go of my hand. Then he turned around and walked away. Seeing how angry he looked, I stopped where I was. When he noticed I wasn't following him, he turned back after only a few steps. Selena, I'm angry. I nodded and reached out to hold his hand. I know, but he didn't let me. Instead, he hid his hand behind his back. You're not going to comfort me? His voice was filled with grievance. I had never comforted anyone before. I opened my mouth several times, but no words came out. His brows drooped, and he looked like a big, aggrieved puppy. Is it really that difficult for you to comfort me? I know I'm not as likable to you as Lucas is, but since you're already dating me, you should take it seriously. You can't play with my feelings. I'll get hurt, and if I get hurt, I won't believe in love anymore. If I don't believe in love, I won't be able to get married. My family line has only had one son for 3 generations. Will end with me. The more I listened, the more something felt off. The accusations piling on my head kept getting heavier. Panicking, I quickly covered his mouth. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Don't be angry. I won't do it again. He lifted his hand and removed mine. He sighed sadly. Although I feel like you're not very sincere, but... I pressed my lips together helplessly. Then what would count as sincere to you? Instead of answering my question, Elias continued. Am I being a bit dramatic? I quickly waved my hands. No. I've seen other girlfriends comfort their boyfriends with kisses and hugs. They actually do something. At that point, if I still didn't understand, I'd truly be clueless. Then lower your head. I'll give you a kiss to comfort you, okay? Elias nodded and lowered his head slightly. I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him on the lips. He sighed again. I heard, when other people kiss, they also use their tongues. I looked at him with a smile, took a deep breath, and wrapped my arms around his neck. Then I kissed him hard. The corners of his lips curved slightly. Gradually, the one in control of the kiss was no longer me. My lips and teeth were repeatedly entangled by him, making my whole mouth feel numb, just as I tried to pull away to catch a breath. The moment our lips separated, the large hand behind my head tightened again. Elias's voice sounded slightly hoarse. "I'm not done yet. I need to Chapter 10. Before I could finish speaking, he pulled me back again and continued kissing me. The warm yellow lights in the alley stretched our shadows endlessly. In the quiet night, it almost felt like the sound of our tangled kisses could be heard. Elias kissed me until my face burned red. My already rosy lips were rubbed until they became slightly swollen. I looked at him helplessly and complained, "They're swollen now. No more kissing." Elias buried his head in the crook of my neck and chuckled. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt that something wasn't quite right. But I couldn't figure out what it was. Chapter 11. After I finished wandering around and returned home, I lay on the bed, bored, scrolling through videos. At the bottom corner of one video, I noticed Elias's recommendation tag, and the content of the video was, "How to make your girlfriend like you more." 1. Learn to show weakness to trigger a girl's protective instinct. 2. Take good care of yourself. Work out often and maintain your blooming season. Only then did I finally understand why something had felt off. What a pretentious coquette of a man. Fuming, I opened Elias's chat window. "What are you doing?" Smiling. Elias, working out. Baby, smiling. Planning to put on a face mask later too, right? Elias, baby really understands me. I sneered inwardly. I think he understands you better than I do. Then I sent him a screenshot of the video. I even circled his recommendation tag in red. The next second, Elias. I could practically imagine the expression on his face when he got caught. My mood improved a little. I was just about to put down my phone and go to sleep. But not long after, my phone started ringing with several ding-dong notifications in a row. Chapter 12. I opened them and saw they were all messages from Elias. "Baby, I feel like my abs aren't as defined as before. What should I do?" Yet in the picture, every ab was perfectly defined. Under his pale skin, a few drops of sweat hung there. When I opened the live photo, the sweat slowly slid down along the V-line of his waist toward the waistband of his gray workout pants. Then came another photo of him standing shirtless in front of a mirror. "Baby, I feel like my muscles don't look as good as before." I swallowed unconsciously. Then, gathering my courage, I replied, "Next photo, are you going to take everything off?" The next second, a video call came in. I panicked and quickly hung up. Then a voice message came from him. My face flushed red as I opened it with trembling fingers. A low, lazy voice with a hint of laughter entered my ears. "Didn't you want to see? Why are you chickening out now?" I didn't want to see. "I'm going to sleep. Don't disturb me." My heart suddenly felt like it was about to jump out of my chest. I hugged the blanket and rolled around on the bed again and again, holding my burning face. I patted my cheeks, trying to knock those very inappropriate images out of my mind. Chapter 13. Before the National Day holiday, Elias kept coaxing and pestering me to go traveling with him. Originally, I had planned to stay home for 7 days because I hated crowded places, but I really couldn't resist a grown man begging and acting cute. So in the end, I agreed. We had originally booked 2 separate rooms, but when we checked in, we ran into an elderly couple with gray hair who hadn't known how to reserve a hotel in advance. After entering the scenic area, all the rooms were full, and they had nowhere to stay. Feeling kind-hearted, I tugged on Elias's sleeve. "How about we give one room to that elderly couple?" Elias glanced over at them, then lowered his eyes and smiled at me. "Sure." But after entering the room with Elias, I started to regret it a little. He didn't seem abnormal at all. Instead, he hummed a tune happily while organizing his things. After hesitating for quite a while, I finally spoke. How are we going to sleep tonight?" Elias looked at me, the corner of his lips lifting slightly. "There's only one bed. What do you think?" I sat on the bed and swallowed nervously. "Well, I think some things are better done after marriage." Elias froze for a moment, then realized what I meant. He lowered his head and laughed quietly. "That's good then. I was worried you might be plotting something against me." The smile on my face stiffened. You're really overthinking it. After taking a shower that night, I placed a pillow between us in the middle of the bed. No crossing the line. Elias glanced at me and nodded lazily. Chapter 14. When I was half asleep and about to drift off, a loud wolf howl suddenly came from outside. It startled me so much that I jerked awake. Elias, did you hear that wolf howl? Elias answered faintly with an After a while, another howl sounded. I clutched the blanket tightly, barely daring to breathe, my body trembling. Elias, I think the wolf is right outside the hotel. The corner of Elias's lips lifted slightly. I think so too. Subconsciously, I scooted a little closer to him. The next second, a large hand landed on my waist and pulled me into his arms. If you're scared, I'll reluctantly let you hold me. Curled up in Elias's arms, I nodded. Gradually, the wolf howls grew quieter. Nestled against him, I felt completely safe. Before long, my eyelids began to grow heavy. In that hazy moment between sleep and wakefulness, the person beside me let out a helpless sigh. This is really killing me. After letting go of me, he slowly got up and went to the bathroom. Not long after, I suddenly needed to use the bathroom. Still half asleep, I walked over with drooping eyes. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Elias shirtless, bent over the sink washing something. I looked closer and saw a small piece of fabric in his hand. My sleepiness vanished instantly. What are you washing? Elias froze for a moment. Then he slowly straightened up and looked at me. I remembered that after showering, I had casually washed it and hung it in the bathroom's built-in dryer. Yet now it was in his hands. Elias paused for a moment, then said calmly, I got it dirty. I looked at him blankly. A second later, realization hit me. My face instantly flushed from my neck all the way to my ears. I was so embarrassed I could barely speak. You pervert. Elias sighed helplessly. Baby, I'm a normal man. You hugged me so tightly just now, I really couldn't hold back. You still can't use my clothes. And even if you used clothes, you still can't. You can't use that. But he shamelessly leaned over and kissed me on the lips. Next time I won't use clothes. Next time. Baby, why don't you help me personally? My face grew even redder. Flustered, I quickly turned around to run, but he grabbed my arm. What are you doing? He chuckled softly. Aren't you going to the bathroom anymore? After I finished and returned to bed, I didn't dare cross the line at all, but Elias pulled me into his arms again. He rubbed his face against the hollow of my neck. Baby, I'm cold. Yet his body felt like a furnace. I twisted my waist, trying to break free from his embrace, but he pressed a hand against my lower back. Baby, don't move. If you keep doing that, I really won't be able to hold back. Then why are you still holding me? He buried his face in my neck and kissed me once. Because I brought this suffering on myself. Chapter 15. When I woke up in the morning, I was clinging to Elias like an octopus. My pajamas were loose and messy, and that guy Elias had his hand shamelessly inside my pajama top. Annoyed, I pinched his waist. His brows furrowed slightly, and he let out a muffled groan. Elias, move your hand. Elias gave a sleepy His hand even squeezed instinctively, biting my lip. I was just about to kick him, when he suddenly grabbed my calf, then shamelessly rubbed against it. Baby, you can't kick around like that. It'll affect our future happiness. If you're really angry, you can touch me too. Then he added without any shame. You can touch anywhere you want. I didn't respond. Instead, I reached out and pinched his waist again. Elias, your skin is really thick. He chuckled lazily. You're only realizing that now? I felt a little speechless, but he really hadn't slept much last night. If he wanted to sleep a little longer now, so be it. But not long after. This guy pushed his luck and squeezed my hand. Baby, I feel a little uncomfortable. What should I do? As he spoke, he pulled my hand downward slightly. Look, it's not behaving again. I felt like my whole body was heating up. People always say men in the morning are dangerous. I awkwardly pulled my hand back. Stammering, I said, maybe you should just handle it yourself? Elias shamelessly rubbed against me. His voice was still slightly hoarse from just waking up. Warm breaths brushed against my neck again and again. Baby, help me, okay? Why you should do it yourself. I'm scared. Elias laughed softly. Baby, it hasn't had a good life. Just give it a try. Chapter 16. I was momentarily speechless, before I could even agree. He suddenly got up and carried me to the bathroom sink, bare-chested, both hands braced at my sides. His sharply defined abs followed the V-line of his waist down toward his hips. My eyes instinctively glanced at the bulge beneath the fabric. Following my gaze, Elias looked down and slightly curved his lips. Baby, are you that impatient? Blushing furiously, I covered his mouth. Don't talk nonsense. Who's impatient? Elias lowered his head and laughed helplessly. I'm the impatient one. After quite a while, Elias held my hands and carefully washed them. My lips were already red and swollen from his kisses. I was breathing in small gasps. My eyes were red as I sniffled intermittently. Why do you always bully me? One of Elias's hands patted my back, while the other wiped away my tears. Lowering his head, he patiently coaxed me. All right, stop crying. If you keep crying, I might not be able to stop bullying you again. I glared at him and spread my arms toward him. Carry me down. Elias lifted me by my underarms and set me down. Then he took a towel from the sink and carefully wiped my tear-streaked face. After cleaning it, he leaned down and kissed my cheek with satisfaction, then pinched it playfully. Why are you so delicate, baby? Embarrassed by his teasing, I blushed and pushed him out of the bathroom. After washing up, we packed our things and drove toward Sayram Lake. Chapter 17. The hotel was a full 2-hour drive from Sayram Lake. Elias drove while his clear, pleasant voice occasionally hummed along with the music playing in the car. On the road, we watched the rising sun slowly climb up from the end of the highway. The warmth brought by the sunlight made my heart feel especially content. The corners of my lips lifted unconsciously, and I was unbelievably happy. Elias rolled down the car window, and the chilly wind immediately rushed in. I was so excited that I shouted Elias's name loudly on the empty road. Elias laughed and responded beside me. I thought this must be what happiness looked like. Elias took many beautiful photos of me by Sayram Lake. On the way back, I fiddled with my phone, arranging my 9-photo collage for my social media post. I saw a cheek-to-cheek selfie that Elias and I had taken together. I placed it right in the center of the collage. Caption: in the future, I want to go to so many places with Elias. After posting it, I looked at the congratulatory comments, and my grandpa sending red roses again and again in the comments. I could practically imagine the little old man wearing his reading glasses, seriously poking at his phone one tap at a time. My heart was full of joy. Feeling bored, I casually called Elias's name again and again. Every time I called him, he answered. Elias. Am I being childish? Elias kept his eyes on the road ahead. Sunlight fell across the side of his face, making him look unbelievably handsome. Suddenly, the car slowly stopped by the roadside. He turned his head, suddenly pulled me toward him, held the back of my head, and kissed me hard. I was a little stunned from the kiss, blinking my wide eyes. I looked at him. Chapter 18. He smiled and kissed my lips again. Selena, I hope you can always be this childish, because if you're willing to be childish beside me, it means you like me and rely on me, and I really enjoy that. Ripples stirred in my heart again and again. Elias, do you really like me that much? Even though I already knew the answer, I still wanted to hear it from him personally. Elias pinched my cheek in exasperation. Selena, God gave you a brain to use, not just to decorate your head. I tugged on his arm. I just want to hear you say it yourself. Elias smiled helplessly. Then he gently pinched my ear. Listen carefully. I nodded firmly. Elias, only like Selena, no matter the future or later on. It will always be the same. No, in the future, Elias will love Selena more and more. My lips trembled with emotion. When did you start liking me? Elias thought for a moment. I can't remember, because to me, liking you is something even easier than breathing. I was deeply moved. So all those years you kept targeting Lucas because you were jealous? Elias snorted. You blockhead, you finally figured it out. After we returned to the hotel, Elias saw the social media post I had made. He was unbelievably happy. He hugged me and kissed me again and again. Baby, were you confessing your love to me? I smiled and kissed his cheek. Of course. Baby. I'm so happy. I pushed him away a little with mild disgust. Elias, you're way too easy to satisfy. Chapter 19. The day Elias proposed to me was on Lunar New Year's Eve. At that time, it had been just 1 month since my 20th birthday. I did the math. This was also the 14th year since I had met Elias. When I was 6 years old, I first met 8-year-old Elias in my grandfather's courtyard house. He enthusiastically brought his grandfather's cricket for me to play with. The moment I saw the living insect, I burst into tears with a loud wah. Crying, I ran home and immediately complained to my grandpa that someone had scared me with a bug. Elias stood there, scratching his head awkwardly. He didn't even notice when the cricket in his hand escaped. That afternoon, he spent the whole time bent over, searching for his grandpa's cricket in our flower bed. I sat on the porch and watched him look for it the entire afternoon, but he never found it. Instead, he got scolded and beaten by his grandpa. My grandpa was laughing so hard he could barely close his mouth. Holding me in his arms, he showed off proudly by the side gate. My old friend, girls are better. You know. Look at this little dress my granddaughter is wearing, so pretty. And look at how sweetly she smiles. Then he teased Elias. Elias! Cry louder for your grandpa, make things livelier for him. Just as I was reminiscing about our past, Elias slipped the engagement ring onto my finger. I haven't even said yes yet. Why did you already put it on? Elias glanced at me lazily. Well, it's already on now. You can't take it off. Grandpa already drank my wine today and said I'm the only son-in-law he recognizes. I glared at him. You don't even have any sense of romance. Elias gave a mischievous grin and pulled another ring out of his pocket. You want romance? Fine. Propose to me again, and I'll satisfy you. I was completely speechless at his shameless attitude. I chased after him and started hitting him. He ran ahead happily. I chased behind him angrily. From time to time he even shouted to my grandpa, Grandpa, Selena is hitting your son-in-law. When my grandpa heard that, he immediately came out holding the TV remote. Like he was enjoying a show, he shouted into the house, Old lady, your granddaughter is beating up your grandson-in-law.